Gonna be on there.
It's me.
Susan, step that way.
Shift left. Everybody shift left.
Step. Good
I have my
job.
phone in my hand to take a selfie. I'm falling down on the job. All right, we are going to do a lightning round of drawings. Drum roll, please. First one is for
SAF. Yes. Pick a name, any name.
Okay, it's done by names. So if your name's in here, you must be in the room, except for Paige Ruth, who left earlier.
Now you can tell if you're centered.
Moving right along. Do we have a Carol Pierce? We do. She was just there. She probably ran to the restroom. She was just talking to Jason. So I know she's here. Boom. Carol wins the coffee mug. Okay, now we have a water tumbler. Ooh, it looks patriotic.
It is.
Of course it does. Who's getting a patriotical water tumbler? The name is Matthias Quellenberg. Woo, 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 woo. All the way from San Diego. Yes?
I never win anything.
Well, today.
That is no longer true.
I just apologize for the boss. The dog got attitude when they when I got away from work and your took off. All right.
Thank you. Woo. All right. Next prize is going to.
These are a set of On the Rocks tumblers from SAF.
Ooh, a set. It's a twofer.
These are
Coming right up. Don't sit down, Susan Myers, because you are the next contestant on You Won Something from the Rack. Woohoo! Ooh, those are awesome. A pair of them. Do they fit in the luggage? If not, I know a good friend that lives in Arizona. All right, fantastic. Moving along.
This is for a book called The 2A Papers.
Well, this one is for Justin Moshkow. Woo, woo, woo. This is, the author is here. He has signed these. I don't see him in the room right now.
He's not. He has some other business to attend to.
Okay, very
When he
good.
is in the building, he'll be around.
All right, one
We have
more
another
time. Same book. Pat Webb. Oh, there she is.
I wanted that. Thank you.
Good reading. Awesome. And now, one of three Duke books by Mark W. Smith. We have Brent Ansden. Woo, woo, woo. Troublemaking
I
Brent.
just walked in the door. Thank you.
Troublemaking Brent. All right. One more time. We got Dave Truslow.
Oh, interesting. Dave will be back in a minute.
Or Truslow. How am I saying?
Truslow.
Truslow.
Is he here?
Connect with him. We've been emailing each other. All right, and last but not least, we have Rebecca Schmoy. She's here somewhere. There she is. Yes, I love it. All right, thank you guys so much. Oh wait, one more. Ooh, I have a recipe, a limited edition.
Recipes in here. Gail has recipes in here.
License
You sent her a copy of recipes for this book.
I asked.
This book was done about 6 years ago.
Mike Harris. Woo! Do you cook, Mike?
I do.
Do you bake? All right, oatmeal cookies. Oatmeal cookies are what I contributed to that.
See you on eBay later tonight.
Yeah. Exactly. Be smart. He wants to make money.
I thought it was oatmeal cookies when you ordered.
Alrighty then, moving on. Very quickly, these t-shirts are out front. Gifts of Smeagol. They are free. And if you get it big enough, it can be a nice little nightgown if you forgot to have your PJs. So, a Smeagol sleeper. All right, we are going to fire this up. But where is my phone? Oh, there it is.
Okay.
All right, here we go. We have our next two presenters. They are going to be presenting on personal branding. We have Amanda Suffolk, the hashtag I want to, the NRA. So she is a very busy lady. Applause. And Dan Waz is a National Second Amendment advocate and author of Good Gun, Bad Guy book series. He is a contributing writer for Ammo-Land News, OpsLens, Daily Caller, Truth About Guns, and several other publications. Dan is also the host of The Loaded Mic and has been a guest on Newsmax, The Sean Hannity Show, OAN, Real America's Voice, and many, many others. They are about to do an amazing presentation for you. Last year, what they taught has stayed with many of us all through the year. So buckle up and hang on. Amanda Sumcool, Dan Waz. Woo!
I think she oversold it, but the good news is half the room is already left, so they're like, yeah, Dan's in the room. I don't know. So Dan and I like to do these together because, in my opinion, Dan is so good at kind of putting a compact message together that to be able to use that to talk about it and understand where everybody's coming from and the like is really part of the message. So the first thing we want to do is we want to, by a show of hands, and this is not a setup, but by a show of hands, who is wearing their personal brand today?
Ish.
Ish. Okay. There you go, there you go. Okay, so I see, because I see hats, I see shirts. I see Diana Whitman changed her clothes right before this, just in time. That's why I was like, this is not a setup. You know, there's that. Cheryl is wearing polka dots as part of her personal brand. You know, Paul is wearing the Second Amendment Foundation shirt right there, front and center. There you go. So you're wearing, oh, you're ACCDL. So there's that. The interesting thing, stand back up a second. I want you guys to notice what he just did, because I've noticed this. He, in order to showcase his logo, he pulled his phone out of his pocket and set it down. Why did you do that?
Because I have deliberately bought a phone where the camera sticks out above the pocket and it obscures the logo.
Okay, so his phone obscures his logo. How many others of you carry something in your pocket that obscure your logo? How many of you ever know? Okay, so how many's hair obscures their logo? How many phones, you know, those types of things. So one of the things that we're putting all this together, but I want you to pay attention to your branding, because it is who you are and it is how people see you. Paul, we'll try to stay here in the corner somewhere. We're good. I think the line's somewhere right in here. But so when he pulled his phone out to showcase his logo, that's something that I noticed that Rob Campbell, every time he puts on a logoed shirt, then he shoves his phone in his pocket. You can't see his logo 90% of the time. And so it's like just that extra little thought that says that when you do something like that, you pay attention to it to say, okay, if you've got long hair, does your logo go here, or do you need to have a different position for it? I mean, there's the traditional, but are you better off if you're going someplace important or where they don't really know you and your brand, that you wear more of a front and center logo so that they see it? If you are having a t-shirt, do you shove your phone inside the inner pocket?
I specifically wear a pocket t-shirt so that when I need my phone put away, I can.
So he wears a pocket t-shirt to be able to hide it. It's because he knows and he realizes and he pays attention to it. I manage to dress Rob most of the time so that he and I look like bookends. I think he's on his phone, or maybe he's sleeping. I'm not sure. He's sleeping on his phone. But so, I mean, I have had to, that's part of the old version. We're talking about you. That's part of the old version. But since then, I've had them move his logo up an extra inch higher so that his phone can still go in his pocket and his logo can still show up. There is no standard in the industry that says that it has to be this way if you've got a good person who helps you with your branding and your logo and your things. So I just want, as you do things, focus on you and how you live and what you do and how you get your brand and your message out. So that was just something that I had noticed in the course of today. But you didn't notice it because you weren't here.
I was on a plane.
Okay, that would be an acceptable.
I almost didn't make it.
That would have been less acceptable.
Well, then you would have to do it all by yourself.
Exactly.
You'd be fine.
Less acceptable.
I'm just your sidekick.
Yeah.
Actually, Amanda is, you know, if it wasn't for Amanda, well, I don't know. She said, okay, let's do it on this. Let's do this topic. And let's talk about branding and stuff. So we started putting things together. We started putting these questions together. And one of the things that I wanted to do was start asking questions and help us kind of explore what it is we do and our logos, our branding, and all that stuff. So you were the inspiration for this whole thing. So let's see how this works.
Right. And then he was like, no, we're going to write this all down. We're going to talk
Oh, yeah,
this
she
all
wanted to
through.
win.
And we're going to be way more professional than we were last year.
But I think, Amanda, if we could, I'd like to get into what do you do?
Okay.
That's the question. So if we can get the slide, can we get the slide up?
We'll see. Hold on 1 second. Oh, look at that. There's your name.
And yours?
Okay.
You're in front though.
Yeah, because it starts with an A.
Dan, do you want to just take that mic out?
Yeah.
Okay. There we go.
So, okay. So we all do something within the Second Amendment world. We have multiple things that we do. Sometimes we do all sorts of different stuff. But the question is, and I was hoping that we could just explore this question, is what do you do? So the question should create a visual of yourself in the industry. Like, what's your niche? What's your corner of the industry? Where do you see yourself?
What's your elevator speech? Is that what
We're going to get to the elevator speech.
Okay.
Yeah, we got an elevator speech. What do you bring to the world? What are you bringing to the world? What are you offering? What do you give to the world? And can you define it in one sentence? So, like, I write books, I write articles, I do radio, I do TV, I do all sorts of stuff. Amanda, same thing. But what do we, if we could sum it up into one sentence, what is it that we do? Does anybody want to offer up? Rob.
I record your virtues.
He records your virtues.
Virtues.
Self-defense gun stories.
Self-defense gun stories.
It's very succinct and to the point. Yep.
BCDL's motto is defending your right to defend yourself.
Yep. That's another thing. We should have a motto so people know what we're.
Well, that's it. But that's a good
It also
one line.
defines us.
Yeah, it defines what you are. Here, go up.
Well, we go beyond that. We actually have a fight song that the group uses.
Are you going to sing it for us? Go ahead. Come on.
No, it's copyrighted, so it's not. It's good.
We'd have to pay him. I think he said we'd have to pay him if he said.
I probably heard it.
You can watch it at the beginning of every one of our monthly broadcasts.
Paul will yell at us if we play something that may,
Well, actually, this one is.
that may get him a strike. Okay, hold on. I'm going to take this over here.
Another one.
It was simple. I said, I keep airplanes in the sky. Okay, pretty important, right? Now when they say that, it's like, I think Cheryl Todd had the best line. How much time do you got? You're gonna need a chair. Because it's what do you do? It gets really long. But that's not what they want to hear. That's not acceptable. We have to figure out how to pare that down so that when they see our brand, they see our model, they see what, they understand who we are and what we're doing. Diana, DC Project, one sentence.
Nationwide organization of women dedicated to safeguarding the Second Amendment.
Boom. Could she say that any faster?
And you know another thing with Diana, if I can interrupt for a second, the one thing that I noticed, every time I think of Diana, I think of somehow 3-gun. That it just like it's there. Diana 3-gun. Maybe it's because it's in your title.
My Instagram name.
So the 3-gun thing is really
It's a piece of me.
Yeah,
It is.
You're branded with that.
That is her
my.
brand. And so she's got that brand, and now she's got the DC Project brand. So she's now got, she could have made the list. Right up there with John and Turley and, you know, a couple others. But actually, can I let the cat out of the bag for us? So the DC Project, which is, Diana's the founder, it's her, she created it, it's her baby, she's nurtured it, you know, she's kicking all the little baby robins, sorry Robin, out of the nest, right? And she's making it get bigger and all that. Realized that when she had to explain what DC Project was to everybody who didn't know what DC Project was. So it turned into a marketing nightmare. She's rebranding it to Women for Gun Rights. So as of Sunday, now you guys have heard, there's the speech for Sunday, but Women for Gun Rights, because that will answer her whole elevator speech, her whole brand, and it puts the brand together. Sorry, Paul. It puts the brand together in what that brand is or should be.
Right, it's perfect.
Yeah.
Women for gun rights, it's perfect.
Right, but for those of you, for those of us who are multiple things, we've got to look at what is our forward-looking face? What do we want people to know, and where do we want them to go? And if we add to it the and then, and oh yeah, that's a problem. It's a problem. And so we have a problem.
All right, so sometimes we don't think about why we do what we do. So we're in this industry, we come to these events, we do, some people do firearms training, some people sell guns, some people do media, whatever it is. But the question is, why do you do it? Have we thought about why do we do it? Because we have to get something out of it, otherwise we wouldn't be interested in doing it. So the question should evoke your why. This will uncover how your product or service benefits you. And we always want to say, well, you know, I do it for the people, I do it to help people, I do it for the, but we get something out of it. So the question is, what do you get out of what you do? Are your intentions self-serving? There is a self-serving element to everything we do, and we may not want to admit it, but there is a self-serving element, and it's not always a bad thing. Because if we're not getting something out of what we do, we're not going to be interested in doing it. Now, what we do might help other people as well, but we have to get something. We usually want to believe we aren't selfish, but if we didn't get something out of it, we wouldn't do it. So what do you get out of what you do? Does anybody care to?
Carol, I'll pass the mic.
As an individual or as an organization?
Start with the individual.
As an individual, it's helping other people protect their rights. I enjoy helping, knowing that this is helping people, there's all the wonderful people out there. So my benefit of it benefits me too, because if gun rights are protected, my rights are protected. But it's knowing that all these wonderful people out there, we're helping all of them. It's like a Christmas gift to all of our lovers.
And you know, there's a thing called the Socratic method. I don't know if people are familiar with the Socratic method. This is where you can ask a couple questions and you can start going deep into what's really underlying that. So you do it because you want to help other people. If I was to ask you, why is it important for you to help other people? I'm going to start going into a different territory. And that's the stuff that I like to get into. I like to understand why I do what I do. Why do I do what I do? And a lot of times this stuff will uncover things about us that we don't either talk about or maybe we don't even know about ourselves. So go ahead. I know Nikki wants to. Go ahead.
Okay, so why do I do what I do? Stealing from Tony Robbins, I do it to fulfill my emotional needs. My core drivers are contribution, growth. By helping others, I grow, I do contribution, I make connection with people. With that, I get significance for myself. I deal with my being uncomfortable, and of course, when I'm being uncomfortable is my normal. I get comfortable, and I get all 6 core of my emotional needs fixed at one shot by doing what I do.
So Nikki, you said, hold the microphone for a second, Nikki. You said one of the things was connect with people. Now, if you don't mind, I'm going to ask you, why is it important that you connect with people?
It's one of the 6 core emotional needs, not a want. It's a need. Stealing it from Tony Robbins and others, all humans have 6 core basic emotional needs. And so what I'm doing is I find I'm shifting my life to living for purpose, and my purpose fulfills my needs and gives me fulfillment. So I'm doing it for my personal happiness. That's why I'm doing it.
Excellent. Thank you.
Now, Nikki says we need.
Yes.
Wait, I've got more. I'm going in order. So I'm in.
Question is, why do you do what you do?
So expanding on what Nikki said, when you do things for other people, it releases endorphins, so you get a certain amount of pleasure out of that. Me personally, I enjoy teaching people and sharing knowledge, and I gain knowledge every time I share knowledge that I have. Teaching about firearms safety and about firearms in general makes my community a safer place, so I benefit directly from that. My family, my children benefit directly from that, and my community benefits. It makes it a better place for me to live. So I get a win-win all the way around, and I love win-win situations.
Isn't it great how we can actually take credit for what we do? We can actually admit that we do things because we get something out of it and not be ashamed of that.
And it's a sense of pride when you,
It is.
when you create something like that.
I think too often we're afraid to say, well, I don't get anything. I don't get anything out of this. This is not for me. I do it for everybody else. But it's just not true. It's just not true. We do everything we do for ourselves at some level. Go ahead.
So I want everybody to pay attention to this note that's on that we just got. The breaking news. So Warsaw Patriot just announced to us that Judge Benitez out of California has ruled the magazine ban is unconstitutional. Talk about being there. So that one's great, and it's worth knocking us off track just a little bit because then tell him thanks. Yeah, what?
All warning shots should be amidships and in the bridge.
Got it. Okay, so we're going to continue on back down here. I'll be with you right after.
Why I do what I do, I like to say that it's for defending liberty for my kids and grandkids, but what it really is that it was handed to me, and I feel like it's my responsibility to hand it down to them. It's not just a feel-good, it's something that I'm paying forward because it was paid forward to me.
So now we're talking about something a little different. Now we're talking about a responsibility. So why is it important that you uphold that responsibility?
Part of it is tradition. Part of it is just the heritage of who we are and what we are as a people. And then the other part of it is that I want my children to know what it is to be free and to look around the world and see that other people don't have that. I need for them to understand and appreciate that, and so I work very hard to make sure that I am doing these things in front of that generation so that they understand that they will have to pick it up and do it someday for the generations to follow.
And I bet you would probably feel bad if you didn't do that, right?
Absolutely.
You still get something.
And you still get something out of it. You get a gratification out of it. You know that what you're doing is going to help your kids and their generation. And that's a noble thing. But you do recognize that you benefit from it.
Yes.
You're getting something from it.
You're gaining freedom too.
Well, yeah, you're also getting freedom. Yeah, hopefully we're getting freedom. Yes.
All right, so I'm a psychiatrist physician. I went into that, believe it or not, I'm sorry? Yeah, it does, because I went into that, believe it or not, out of altruism for developmental reasons. But I'm going to go deeper as a psychiatrist and tell you my truly selfish motives for being part of our 2A movement. I had run out of some ancillary stuff I was doing in my career. And 15, 20 years ago, I started looking around thinking, what else could I do? And I found this, and it appealed to me very much selfishly and pridefully, because all the other reasons for doing it are mine too. But it makes me feel like a hero.
Yeah.
I love that. It makes me feel so good, and I'm so proud. I grew up during the 60s, the civil rights. I missed being able to do that. I really think this is our generation's civil rights movement. I want people to see me doing it.
So hold that microphone for a second.
Yes.
If I may ask the psychiatrist a question, why is it important for you to feel like a hero?
Because that's one of the self-perceptions I want to believe about myself. Always have, as a child. I mean, I want to be a hero amongst heroes. You know, the greatest warrior, the greatest leader, all those things. I'm not the leader, but in my neck of the woods, standing up against organized medicine and all of its bias and prejudice feels exactly like standing up to racial discrimination and any other form. And I'm very proud of doing that.
Yeah.
It makes me feel so good.
Yeah.
Even though most other people don't see me that way for it. So that's selfish.
Now, a lot of times this stuff, and I'm sure you'll agree, a lot of this stuff goes back to our childhood.
Oh yeah.
This is stuff that, you know, if I was to ask you when was the first time you felt like a hero, you'd probably say something back from your childhood. So these are things that make us feel good for whatever reason. We all have our own reasons for this stuff.
Robin Hood was my first.
Self-esteem.
I want to be Robin Hood.
You want to be Robin Hood, right? Yeah. This is good stuff. This is why I like going deep on this stuff. So we're not just out there bouncing around doing stuff and not really know why we do it, right? Go ahead.
I was, I don't like to use the word victim, but I had a very traumatic event happen in my life. And I was powerless. And through that event, I was filled with such hatred and rage. And I'm not a big, tough guy. I couldn't go out and physically fight back against this situation. And I ended up having to work with medical professionals. I did a lot of work on mindfulness, recovery, grieving the pain of the situation. And all of that brought me into the world of firearms, even though I had been around firearms, but I had never thought of myself as being my own self-defender. And the person who I trusted and I thought was going to be that person was a villain. And as I recovered and I started getting more and more into firearms, and then realizing there wasn't a lot of female instructors, I saw a route that I could go and channel my anger in a positive way. And so my work today is working with women. I specialize in working with women on understanding abuse and being able to defend themselves, being able to read the situations. You know, I'm not encouraging someone to get a firearm and go out and shoot the refs, obviously, but in having them know they do not have to be a victim to their circumstances, that they have choices and how to use the system properly and how they can protect themselves and their children and feel good about themselves. As a woman, and maybe men, it's hard for you sometimes to understand, but as a woman especially, one that trusted someone or you're not in that position to be able to physically fight back, you need to have an outlet. And being able to have a group of women that can come together, share experiences, be able to turn that into something positive in, you know, going to the range, creating a sisterhood, that's what I've been doing. And it's very healing.
You know, you said a couple key words that I really latched onto. The first one was victim. I mean, it makes sense that you were victimized, and I understand that. But then you also used the word empowerment. And then, what was the last word you just used? You just said uplifting, or what did you just say?
Sisterhood, or?
I forget what you just said, but anyway, it was that empowerment. It was that empowerment one that really seems to just, you know, to make it for you.
And turning a negative into a positive.
Turning a negative into a positive.
Well, I've never been a victim. I mean, I've had setbacks, I've had problems, I've had disappointments in my life, and you know, life is difficult. It just, I mean, that's Psychiatry 101. Life is going to be hard. And you learn how to get up, brush it off, and keep going. And there are some things that are really hard to get up and brush off. Yeah. And you have to find another way. And there are, unfortunately, lots and lots of women, especially in my age group, us boomers. And I have to say, whoever was doing the slides earlier, the slide went up to age 62, and I'm like, wait a minute, I'm not on there anymore. So we're kind of getting, you know, those of us in the boomer age, we're getting kind of forgotten and pushed aside, and we are still very viable. We're not all retired and out on the golf course. We still have a lot to give, and I'm finding that there are a lot of women out there in my age group that are looking for that. They might be widows. They may find themselves in the midst of a divorce and later in their life that they never saw coming.
Is it safe?
We're getting off track here.
Yeah,
So
but I mean,
let's
but the why do we do it? It's to be able to empower women.
Yeah, excellent. Thank you.
Okay, I've got one more here, and then we'll move to the next slide.
If not me, then who? And if not now, then I just see too much of the younger generation not getting this information. I see too many absentee fathers nowadays. I see boys are born with certain gifts that if you steer them in the right direction, will have heroes and protectors. And with an absentee, someone not there to guide that natural spirit that they have, they're going to go down a dark road.
So guiding the natural spirit is what you're taking on. Is that fair?
Correct. There's a gratification there of seeing young boys that are lost, that are looking for a path. And you know, in the 80s and 90s, it was a big thing to join the Gamut because they were looking for that same structure in their lives that was missing from the home. I see the same thing going on in the firearms industry. That kids need that stuff.
Okay. Excellent. Thank you. Wow.
Wow. Now we'll see what my slide says, because I'm sure it got really deep. Right? Okay. So now let me see if I can pull it back to the high side of this, because you guys went really deep with that, but it was really good. So when we're talking about our brand, you know, we're talking about what do you do, why do you do it, and then why does the person that you're marketing to, talking to, sharing with, why should they care, why do they care, right? Because there's so many times when somebody says, I do this, and you're like, yawn, right? Whatever that is. But you need to create a brand that when you take to market, that people connect with. Because otherwise, I mean, there's a spot where you do things for yourself, but you actually need to be able to have someone receive it, because otherwise you're just underwater basket weaving, right? There's nothing, there's no gratification that comes with it if you pitch the ball and nobody catches it every time you do it. So you need to create it and make it so that someone else cares what you're doing and get that message across.
So, this is pretty basic. This is simple, but we thought that we should keep it simple. Because when you're talking to people, I mean, obviously your name is your name, but I am A, or I do this, or I do that. How do you introduce yourself to someone?
No, yeah, so let's do this. So I'm gonna pick a couple people this time. We're just gonna pick you out of the audience and say, your name is, and you are A.
My name is Mike Harris, and I am a Second Amendment lobbyist.
Okay, so he's a Second Amendment lobbyist. Okay, you?
My name is Al Evans, and I am a Christian.
Okay.
I didn't hear it.
He is a Christian.
A Christian, okay.
Okay. Robin?
My name is Robin Sandoval. I'm the Executive Director of A Girl and a Gun.
Executive Director of A Girl and a Gun. Going to you.
I'm Justin Mosdale. I'm an audio video producer.
Okay, he's an audio video producer.
Susan Myers, Second Amendment advocate.
She's got another title, and it's like "We but Mighty." That's what she is. That's what she is. Okay, here we're going to the German.
My name is Matthias. I'm a German with a gun.
A German with a gun.
There you go. Okay. So, I mean, so we can look at it, and there's a lot of different ways that you define yourself. But when you're thinking about it, when you say it, do they get it? And like, at times, you have a different I am A, depending on the audience. Whoops.
While you're talking on this, we'll go to the next slide.
I'll click it. There.
This is what she's talking about.
Oh, sorry. I got ahead of him. Me.
I was trying to. Oh, you got this clicker.
I had the clicker. He made it. I love how he made it your fault.
Yeah.
So it was.
I'm used to it.
You're married.
So Amanda, when people ask me what I do,
I say I'm Pat Webb, I'm a gun runner and a pot dealer. I'm a ceramic artist and I have a gun store. So,
I'm a gun runner and a pot dealer. That gets their attention, then doesn't it? Pot dealer. There you go. So, you know, you want to make your definition of who you are when you tell somebody, make it clear enough that when they walk away, they're not like, because I walked away from something, my husband's like, who was that? And I'm like, I'll tell you later, right? Because you couldn't even say what it was because one, they hear you, and two, I'm not sure that I could formulate it. So making it so it's crisp and it's clear and it's singular is really it. But it can be different in different times and different places. So depending on who the audience is and what they are, you know, I knew we were teaching this class on branding. And so I sat in my room this morning and I said, well, do I dress as a woman? Because I don't do that very often. And those of you guys who follow my Facebook page will see that most of the time I'm like working on a house or running a chainsaw or something like that. So I was like, well, I could dress like a woman. I could wear pants. Well, but you know what I mean. Slacks. Do I wear the DC Project logo? Do I wear the NRA Board of Directors logo? Do I wear the Eye on the Target Radio logo? Which one, where am I? What is my message to the audience? And sometimes it's really hard to define who you are in a certain point. So when Cheryl said, how much time you have, sit down. Rebecca is exactly the same thing. You want to talk about guns? Or do you want to talk about politics? You know, I got that too. I'm the chairman of the Republican Party because I zigged instead of zagged. So it turns into this whole thing. So I'm going to say, don't be me. You want to be Dan. Because Dan is a brand that is about guns. good gun, bad guy, is pretty much the heart of what Dan is and does. And everything centers to it, comes to it, goes away from it. You want to be Robin Sandoval. A girl, and she's the girl of a girl and a guy.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, so really when she gets to that, she can say executive director, she can say this, she can say that. She's like, I am the girl from a girl and a guy. Right? Whatever. But it's that. But you don't want to walk away saying, God love him, John Petrolino. You know, you start to look at it and he's like, well, I could write poetry, or I could write gun stories, or I could do this, or I could do that, or I could, and it turns into this thing where it's like, I don't even know which John Petrolino I'm talking to this very minute. And part of our struggle,
John Petrolino made this for me.
Okay.
And this is I gotta give John a little credit. This is one of those QRs. So it's like a business card. So you take a picture of that, but it's got my good gun, bad guy logo on it. And so John said, you gotta.
So when you see John next, say, John, what does yours look like?
He's got other stuff. He's got pins. He's got these lanyards.
He's got his lanyard. He's got all that. But when you look, it's different. They're all different, right? So anyhow, sorry, John. The fact that you're not here. If you were here, I'd still make fun of you. Said with love. This is Dan's.
This is actually yours, but
I see it's mine, but I don't. Yeah. Go ahead.
I thought maybe we could start talking about our title and maybe give each other feedback. Because we're looking for a couple things. Does your title get to the point, like Amanda was saying? Is it concise, expressing a lot of information in just a few words? And does it create interest, and is it memorable? I mean, Amanda hit on all those things. The question is, do we have a good title? Do we all have good titles?
So how long do you want them to do this? Do you want to do the breakout?
I don't know, whatever you think. Do we want to break out? A few people get together and...
You guys want to talk to each other? Yes. Okay, we're gonna take it is 3:29. We are going to give you 10 minutes. So 3:40.
And there's the criteria, pretty much.
We're gonna pause with this slide up. We're going to give you guys, but I want you to talk amongst yourselves, and I want you not to stay with the group that you've been sitting with all day or the group that you traveled with. So split up. Okay?
You separate yourselves.
Separate yourselves.
For those of you watching online, let me get inside the camera's view here. For those of you watching online, we're going to go ahead and cut the feed. They're going to do their breakout here. We will come back to do more of branding, and the keynote will be upcoming. Check back. We'll be broadcasting again soon.